So with that, I think it's time we begin this beautiful discussion. So good evening, friends. A big welcome to each one of you to this very special session, pre-owned vehicles business in the COVID era, a sector which has excited a lot of people. In fact, a lot of people have been texting us, emailing us, when is the video links gonna get active? How many days it will take? We want to see it, we want to share it. And I think we could not have had a better set of audience. We have the who's who of the Indian automotive and mobility industry, right from startups to established companies, the people who are leading the business there, leading the innovation. So without further ado, let's begin with this program. And I'd like to begin by introducing, just showing the pictures of the people and just rattling out the top 15 points that we had in mind. So I'll just share my screen. Okay. This is the program which gets us here today, the pre-owned vehicle business in the COVID era. And this is part of WAF Gurus Live episode 12. Friends, it's a pleasure to share with you that this WAF Gurus Live series is started on the 28th of March 2020 during the lockdown, and it's about to cross 1 million views. And of course, today's session is powered by Das Welt Auto, certified pre-owned cars, which is the certified pre-owned cars business, the program of Volkswagen worldwide. And Das Welt Auto, literally in German, in Deutsch, means the world car. So friends, these are gentlemen whom we've just met. We have Mr. Malhotra, Director and CEO, Shriram Automall. We have Mr. S. Muralidharan, President, Lucas Indian Service. We have Mr. Shashank Srivastava, Executive Director, Marketing and Sales, Maruti Suzuki India with us. Then of course we have Mr. Ashish Gupta, Head of Sales, VW India. Mr. Banwari Sharma, CEO, CarWale. Mr. Umesh, Hora, CEO, Used Car Business, CarDekho. And of course, Mr. Kushal, Karwa, co-founder, GoMechanic. Mr. Abhinav Gupta, Vice President, Cars 24. And of course, me, Anuj Guglani from World Auto Forum. Well, the best part is my work was very easy today because everybody introduced themselves, so that we are through. So now we just introduce our annual partners, very special partners, the very reason, we are in existence, and, of course, our bills get paid. So in the gold partners, we have Gallops Motors, one of the leading retail chains across the country, and that represents several OEM brands. Then we have Motor Uncle, which is a group company. It is for the confused car customer and the hassled car service customer, motoruncle.com. Of course, our OEM partner is Volkswagen, and Volkswagen, as all of us know, is #1 car maker around the world. Then we have Amplus Solar. They are a part of the Petronas group, and they are on a mission to transform the automotive industry into solar powered. So all the warehouses and the dealerships and the big manufacturing plants, they want them to be powered by solar. Hence, we made them our annual partner. And then world's #1 lubes company, Shell Lubricants, also our annual partner. And of course, K2B Friends is one of the leading training companies of India. And in fact, their top teams are also present here. Mr. Gaurav is the CEO, he's right here and attending this program with with Anu. Of course, Jubilant Motor Works, part of the Jubilant Group, Hindustan Times, again, that represents several brands of automotive across the country, very professionally driven company, and led by a dynamic CEO, Mr. Amit Jain, and he and his team are also there in the attendees, listening to all of you. And of course, our media partners, Autotech Review, the leaders in automotive technology, and The Patriot, a newspaper with a fine lineage, which was founded by our revered freedom fighter, late Aruna Asaf Ali ji, 6 decades back. This was about our partners. So of course, this is what gets us here. I'll just quickly rattle out the discussion points which we received, from people around the world. Of course, people really want to know what kind of cars, what kind of vehicles, what price point, what model, which markets, tier 1, tier 2, urban, rural, lots of questions. So I'll quickly rattle out these 15 discussion points. So friends, of course, this is the most keenly watched space in the automotive. Most consumers, in the surveys have said that this sector might see a Nike swoosh style growth for pre-owned vehicles, because of the hygiene issues, the social distancing, family first, all those other reasons, So can this be said for all vehicle types, two-wheelers, PV, CV, and tractors? By the way, we have had record tractor sales in June. Then rural versus urban, who will drive it? Then personal versus shared mobility, what would be the mix? What shall be the key growth drivers? Of course, traditionally, the finance of pre-owned vehicles has always been expensive. So what role can the NBFCs, banks, FIs play? Then how can the OEMs, dealers, and aftermarket players come together to have a more collaborative pre-owned vehicle marketplace? That's the biggest challenge. Then how would digital really transform? is digital being really overplayed, or the derevolution has just begun because of the lockdown? Then what are the pre-owned vehicle marketplaces of the future? The trust factor, which always has been like an Achilles heel for the pre-owned vehicle business, how can it be enhanced? And the role of tech and stakeholders, how that can make it a high trust marketplace. Then the unorganized players, how can they be better organized using tech, using SOP process? Well, we all know back in 2001 during the attack on the Indian Parliament, the ambassador car which was used for that attack was procured from one of the used car dealers at Karol Bagh. And the real owner is still paying visits to the courts, absolving himself. And incidentally, back in 2001, we also had Maruti True Value, which was formed, if I'm not wrong, Shashank. So easy and inexpensive finance, genuine spares, warranty, free services, assured service costs covered, a utopia for the pre-owned vehicles. But is this a near reality? And then, of course, pre-owned vehicles with shared mobility, can this be a tipping point? And the most important thing for the Indian customer, the pride of buying a new vehicle, I'll repeat, the pride of buying a new vehicle versus smartness of saving on a depreciating asset. How would the consumer behavior evolve? So friends, these are the points that came to us, came to our mind, came to us as feedback. So I'll stop sharing my screen. So it's time to begin this conversation. So let's begin this discussion with Shashank San, who is the ED at Maruti Suzuki. Let's hear from him. What has been their journey with True Value in India? Where do they see 2020 and 21 panning out? Shashank San, all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Anuj. You rightly pointed out just a few moments ago that the True Value was started in 2001 or so. It was not in response to the attack on the parliament, though. We were planning for a long time to start this scheme for used cars, for pre-owned cars. The reason for that, of course, was that in India, much of the used car business, even today, is C2C. It is, and it is very unorganized as well. So there were very few organized players at that point of time, much less than what you have today. Today, of course, 18% of the used car market is organized car. Then we went along and we established specific used car outlets called the True Value outlets. And we tried to give the consumers the best practices that were followed abroad regarding pre-owned car market, because pre-owned car markets in India was at a very nascent stage. And we are very happy that today we have expanded our network to I think 585, 600 outlets. All our dealers across all outlets offer used car services. And that is also, initially we started with the aim at converting consumers to upgrade to new cars through exchange sale. But now, of course, it's a very good revenue stream for our dealers, and we are quite happy with the progress that has been made in True Value. We do about 4.5 lakh used cars a year. Last year we did about 438,000, something like that. And going forward, and I think during the course of the discussion, we will find that most of the logic applied to consumer behavior and also the consumer research data shows. In fact, actual data of the last 2 months also suggests the same thing, that there will be a telescoping of demand downwards, which means the upper segments go down to the lower segment. For example, the new car, entry-level car segment probably transfers a little bit of demand to the used cars, and the used cars to two-wheeler and so on and so forth, as the demand for public transport reduces and personal transport increases. So we expect a lot of positive things as far as the demand side is concerned. However, on the supply side, I think there are issues, and we can see it even now, where people are holding on to the vehicles a little longer. In other words, the replacement car buying cycle is a little more increased, from about 7 years to already, our research shows, slightly above 8 years. So I think on the buy side is the problem, not the sell side. So that, I believe, will be a defining factor in the demand in the coming year.
Great, that's fantastic. So, in fact, Shashank San, if you just Google, pre-owned car, vehicle or used car market in India, there is no one figure that you get. You might see so many surveys and research reports. Somebody says it's 4 million, somebody says it's 6 million, somebody says tik like 5 million. So when the figures itself are not clear, what is the market? So how can the market practices, operations be that crystal? So that becomes the biggest challenge. So what do you have to say on that, Shashank san?
Yeah, really, I think you're very right, because unlike new cars, where you have actually chassis-wise details, now you have registration data, perfect registration data available. So reporting of used used car sales is not there in our country. So most of the data that you hear and you were pointing out are estimates made based on research. But I think if you do a large, and there are many data, and some of our panel members actually can share it probably even better. They have done analysis and research. We have also done our own. So all the estimates about the used car market in India is largely based on research rather than actual reporting. And all of them point to a range of somewhere between 1.4 to 1.7 times the new car market.
Precisely.
The new car market being about 2.8 million cars last year. So the range is, as you said, 4 million, 4.2 million. That sort of range is the thing. And it's, I think, not very inaccurate, although the range seems to be large, but I think it's not very inaccurate. We also have some very good research data on how much is the organized market, which is roughly about 18 to 19%. And that also is consistent across all researches. So I think while you are right, data itself is not really exact, but a good indication is available. And mind you, I think we can do business even if this data is not complete, because when we look at consumer requirement, we are extremely sure what the consumer wants from its car, and that can be got through a direct interaction with customer. And as long as we can have our systems and processes in place where all players cater to the actual requirement of the consumer, dictated by consumer choices and consumer preferences, I think this business is a real good business, not only now, but for many more years to come.
That's well said, Shashank san. Totally agree with you. So switching gears now, let's go to a person who is not in just one, category of vehicle. A person who has been, taking care of with his team, auto malls, where they have been auctioning used vehicles, right from a car to a tractor to a two-wheeler. And as he has, as the Sameer had shared before the discussion, that they were going, they were going gung-ho even during the lockdown through the digital platform that they have. So Sameer, all yours on the Shriram Auto Mall, the proud semillions that you have created. All yours.
Yeah, we always have that feeling as a proud Samalian. And in fact, before the lockdown, we were so happy, and the way numbers were coming, and whole team has themselves they taken 100% growth target. We were looking for from 100 cities to going to 200 cities within this year. We were going for expansion into every single segment, and that's a market we know. As Mr. Srivastava just now mentioned, the size of, he just talked about only the cars. If you talk about the two-wheelers, which is bikes, you talk about three-wheelers, you talk about buses, commercial vehicle, which includes all kind of trucks, and you talk about construction equipment. And top of it, if you talk about tractors, it's become a very, very huge ecosystem in the country. And that's what we serve. Every single segment has a different challenges and different scope and different ways to serve it and different ways to get into those markets. We always talk about cars. Cars is definitely quite mature. As if you look into from buyer's point of view or buying behavior point of view, it is still quite mature. But if you really see from the trading point of view, tractor market is the most mature in the country right now. There we see close to 60 to 70% tractors sold through trade-ins only. So that's a very, very different discussion I'm going into now. So, and if you go into two-wheelers, it is again not that mature. Even market size is so big in the number of volume. Might be the price wise it is as big as cars, but volume wise it is is multifold. Same if you go into commercial vehicle or construction or into buses, they're not at all mature markets at all. There's a maturity of whether the trade-ins and other things are not at all there. So that's where unorganized market plays quite a big role, and we have a very, very big influence in these markets, because that's where customer is looking for someone who can give them the much better solution, which is with a better authenticity of the transaction, with a much more clarity about it, and the transaction is transparent. And exactly that's the way whole market was maturing and transferring in the pre-owned vehicle business is quite a lot changing in the Indian industry. We're seeing a lot of new players are coming in. We are seeing a lot of new things are happening. It's not affecting us at all. Even if we feel in most of these segments, we are the market leader, but our business is growing even after that. So it's clear the market size is so big. It has enough scope for everyone to jump in. It has enough scope because there's a lot of unorganized players, a lot of unorganized transactions are happening, and everyone can play a role in that. Overall, people are still getting happier now. People are shifting. We saw definitely April was down. May was almost 100% growth we got. And in June, we got 300% growth from May. So things are changing quite a lot. It is all of a sudden we thought we've gone completely out of the world, and then we are back, and everybody got back to the business. Everybody's talking about numbers. Everybody is feeling there is something in the whole pre-owned vehicle industry. There's a lot of things to be done. So there's a lot of maturity in cars as far as consumers are there. Manufacturers are quite mature. Tractor is the largest maturity. We had to have a lot of more scope in construction equipment and commercial vehicles and even two-wheelers. But the volumes are good. The buying behaviors are different. The buying behavior in the tractor market is not at all there because there's more farmers and end users are very different. They don't know how to go into these kind of things, how to buy. So if you talk about digital economy over there, no, it's not going to work over there. So the maturity of this market, when we talk from physical to digital, it's coming, and mostly it's coming in the more mature and more bigger cities. But if you go into rural area, there are a lot of different stuffs are happening. The clients still, especially in the pre-owned vehicles, I doubt anybody would be interested to buy completely digital unless they have a touch and feel. Unless they feel it, they'll see it. This pre-owned vehicle market doesn't work. It's not same like new vehicle, which is you have a clarity, you have a warranties, you have everything available. Pre-owned, every vehicle users is different. The background is different. Prices are different. Everything is different. So long way to go. Market is growing. Everything is going in the right direction. And I think all of us has a very big scope to grow, and the market is quite maturing day by day. Thank you.
Totally agree with you on that, Sameer. Sameer, if all these products, different types, are like your children, right from a tractor to a CV to a PV to a two-wheeler, which is the most stubborn child in the family?
I think when you come as a parent, you like all your childs equally, and you love your all child equally. We started with commercial vehicles, so that's our eldest child for us. Okay. So we have a much more responsibility for us on that market. So we have a lot of responsibility as an organization to make faster the maturity of commercial vehicle market. Definitely, our second child was car and passenger vehicles. We entered close to 8 years back, and that's mature. That's growing very, very fast, more smarter. And the smarter kids on the town, which is tractors and all, the younger generation is more smarter. So you buy tractors, three-wheeler, all are going very, very fast. They're looking into new ways, and they're not taking that kind of a time into maturity. So all the kids in the house are naughty, but they're going in the right direction.
Great. That's how kids should be. Fantastic. So switching gears now, coming to one of the biggest companies, friends, into aftermarket parts, because genuine parts is a prerequisite to gain trust of the customer in the used car space. You go wrong with the spare parts, you just it's a complete trust deficit. So coming to Murli sir, who is the president at Lucas India Service. So Murli sir, your thoughts on the pre-owned vehicle business in India, and how can the aftermarket parts business be the enabler?
A little over 4 million pre-owned cars sold just a couple of years back, which is about 1.5 times more than the new cars. And note the word, it's pre-owned, it's not branded secondhand. Indicates clearly that this market has come of age. 3 factors drive this growth in an era of a little known virus which has reportedly come from China. The 3 factors being: 1, quality. With extended warranty being given by all car manufacturers to the level of, say, 3 years, maybe even more. And organized garages making sure that the car is refurbished and tested for safety with the help of genuine spare parts. The customer knows that the quality of the pre-owned car is as good as the earlier one. If I buy it after 3 years, it's just out of warranty period. And if I can buy, or rather use, a hereditary family jewelry, why can't I use a pre-owned car? The second significant factor is organized players in the market. With over 18% of pre-owned cars now via organized channels and growing exponentially, any buyer has credibility. The more the organized players grow and the faster the unorganized one-on-one transactional buyers shrink, this market can clearly have a Nike effect. It's all about credibility and bundling of services. The third factor is what can loosely be called as finance. Within 3 years, the price of a smaller car depreciates by 50%. So after 3 years, if I want a new car, I can sell it at 50% and buy another model. But if I have less finances, I'm going to get a pre-owned car at 50% of the first price, which means a car owner gets it at a price very comparable to a high-end two-wheeler. The prices are actually comparable if you see as a family, not as an individual. In addition, today, 17% of the pre-owned cars are financed by banking institutions. Yes, it is much lower than the 75% of the new cars. But again, with growth of organized players, if more and more players, financial institutions, start financing a pre-owned car, it's all moving my way. So combination of quality, organized players, finance, and above all in today's condition, the reliability of hygiene. My car is safe. I use a public transport, I'm not sure. So I will rather buy a pre-owned car to take my mother to the hospital or for a checkup, then use a public shared mobility, a factor which plays very much in our minds, could certainly be the tipping factor for cars. But will it be so for two-wheelers and tractors? I'm not too sure if those will be the tipping points. That, Anuj, would be my preamble or the opening remarks.
Surely, surely. Well said, Murli sir. When it comes to family, the emotive factor works, and then all calculations, commerce, they just stop working. And yes, that can really be a key driver, for the PV adoption for sure. And of course, the way the cars are, my wife, she drives a Renault Duster. It's, I think, 6 to 6.5 years old. It runs like a dream. It runs almost like a brand new car. In fact, it's 6 years. In next 4 years, it will lose its validity. But still, it runs like a brand new car. Okay, so switching gears, now coming to Ashish, who's the head of sales at VW, and they have this beautiful concept of Das Welt Auto. So Ashish, we would like to know how, every possible car maker has a branded certified used car program. So what makes Das Welt Auto different and unique?
Yeah, Anuj, thanks a lot for that question. I think some of the comments from Mr. Srivastava and Samir, I think, are bang on. We see a lot of movement happening in the pre-owned car business, no doubt about it. Coming to Das Welt Auto, I think as you said, any manufacturer worth its name, has to have a used car vertical these days. Two reasons. One is that the primary reason for the OEMs, of course, is to make sure that you retain customers and you always give options to customers to have cars available to them right from the starting point, wherever you can upgrade them into later in their life cycle. But more importantly, also, I think the used car business is a very important revenue stream for the dealerships. We all know that dealership profitability and dealership revenues have been under a lot of stress over the last 2 or 3 years because of various factors, liquidity crunch, demand petering out a little bit last year. So it becomes a very, very important vertical for us to support dealers. The important role of the OEM there becomes to be able to provide guidelines and the kind of standardization that a customer would expect from an OEM brand name like Volkswagen. So for us, Das Welt Auto is a program which we have been running across the world for over 20 years now, and the promise is simple: to provide high quality cars to the customers and options to the customers. We introduced the Das Welt Auto in India in 2012, and last 10 years or last 8 years, I think we focused on setting up the basic processes. But I'll be honest and say in the first 6 or 7 years, it was primarily a channel to drive exchange sales, to give an option to the customer who wants to trade up to a Volkswagen. And typically that's what our customer base is, trading up from the other cars that he might have, or lower price cars that he might have, to the premium offerings that we give. So, but over the last 1 year, even before the lockdown, we wanted to make sure that this now becomes a very important pillar for our dealerships to drive revenues. So from that perspective, we launched the Das Welt Auto 3.0 initiatives, which is heavily focused on digital ability, digital readiness, making sure that every touch point available on a new car journey is also available to the pre-owned car journey customer. And secondly, on making sure that it contributes heavily to dealer profit. From that perspective, we launched our Das Welt Auto website, where you can actually access the stock of all our dealership network across the country. You can book your used car on the platform itself. We also launched a self-evaluator app, because in the lockdown, how to make sure that customers still focus on their car or selling their used car. So we launched a self-evaluator tool through which you can evaluate your own car and get a quotation from our dealership. So a lot of initiatives which make up the entire DWA 3.0, and we see very good results coming. It's been hardly 1.5 months since the lockdown lifted, and already our pre-owned cars have actually doubled from last year. So I am totally in sync with Samir here when he says that 300% growth in June. That's actually true, and it's really, really a saving grace in these tough times.
Fantastic, Ashish. I must say that's a phenomenal growth for you as well. And I think we are just warming up when it comes to pre-owned vehicles. So switching gears now, coming to the CEO of a website. In fact, this takes me back to my General Motors days. I think it was back in 2005, Banwari, if I'm not wrong, when CarWale was formed.
That is correct.
So in fact, it was possibly one of the pioneers, in this space. So Banwari, you have very huge focus on the online classified business for CarWale, and plus after the car trade, CarWale merger acquisition, whatever we call it, there was a greater focus. So first of all, what was the synergy between these two companies? Then, since the lockdown and further, what are the changes that you are observing in the marketplace?
Right, Anuj. So since you started with 2005, I'll go back. I'll give you a little bit of a glimpse on what exactly how CarWale came along. So we would have seen world over, there are companies like Auto Trader, we have companies like CarMax. One is predominantly a marketplace, another being a large organized retailer. And then if you, let's say, come back to 2020, you have companies like Carvana with a $500 million loss on their books. They are a $20 billion valuation company, right? And there are multiple of such models coming along. So if you see, used car has been fancy for all of us for a very long time. CarWale was launched as a used car platform in 2005, predominantly to aggregate dealer inventory. That was the whole point of, let's say, coming of CarWale. However, we realized then that used car is a bit slow. It will take time. This is not developed market theory that we can just replicate and we'll just be laughing to the bank. So we realized that new cars is the way. India would take a lot of time. New cars has to become really, really prominent before you put up a great used car show. And so India, to me personally, is a new car market. At least so far, last 15 years, 20 years, I can say clearly that India has been a new car story, not a used car story yet. Of course, it is work in progress, and things would be different. What Mr. Shashank just talked about, he said 1.4 to 1.8. I would have my understanding somewhere around 1.3 to 1.5x of new cars, which seems like about right platform to start with. Of course, it could go somewhere like 1:4, 1:5, even better at a evolved state, which developed countries sit at. So just to give you a perspective on how CarWale has been, let's say recently, and what it looks like, I'll give you a little bit of a peek into our traffic to begin with, because that gives you a new perspective into this COVID time. In January, let's say whatever number we were doing, the organic numbers for CarWale is sitting today are already 15% up. And if I remove used cars from that and talk about only used cars, we are about 25% up. BikeWale is similar story. We have all-time high traffic. In fact, January numbers were ever highest, and we surpassed them by 25% for BikeWale as well. Now, please understand, we sell about 250,000 cars, 2.5 lakh cars in the country, new cars, and about, let's say, 4 lakh car used cars. If you put together all of these, they are still less than a million in an entire year. And if you see, in the month, if you see CarWale gets about 33 million, 34 million visitors every month. This is like 30 people to every, let's say, car buyer out there. When you look at that ratio, it clearly tells that we are a platform which is a little broad. A lot of people who research start with CarWale, look at, let's say, a lot of data, research, compare, etc., and then go into the car buying. Which means while they're out there, there may not be a scenario wherein a lot of what I'm talking about is translating into real business. What Samir just talked about, Mr. Ashish talked about, I think very correct, which is like business has started opening, but then the base is April and May. And we are talking about base like a January or let's say December or November. So to me, we have good times ahead. What I fear is a bit of policy flip-flop, not really from government, let's say as an entire thing, but more like, let's say, Mumbai shutting down, sometimes Chennai shutting down, sometimes something else happening. So India predominantly is a sentimental market. People look at confirmation buyers. They are more like they want social proof. If everybody is buying, I'll also go out and buy. Like if nobody is buying, I will not buy. I have money, but I will wait, right? So until this entire decision-making flip-flop doesn't go away, we may have some time there, but then I think CarWale, BikeWale data suggests we have good festive season coming along. Now, would it be a full recovery or partial? Time will tell.
So, of course, cities shutting down, containment zones coming up, that for sure is for, the safety and for public health at large. But, Banwari, talking about a car website, which is pure digital, vis-a-vis, an OEM, which, have the brand of the OEM, and plus the paperwork and the OEM endorsement, vis-a-vis a particular store of a used car and vis-a-vis unorganized. How does the trust factor change and shift according to you?
So let's take 3 examples here. One would be a platform like CarWale, which is fully digital, which Sami talked about, let's say digital, like a used vehicle, especially people will not buy. I fully agree. It's not, it's not a commodity, right? You are not buying a Swift, red color, let's say VXI, which will always be the same all the time, right? Your Swift and my Swift would be different all the time. Now that is one. Second is the OEM, which I would say probably, let's take an example of True Value. And then we go to the third one, which is an outlet, let's say a regular, let's say dealer, which is unorganized player. I think trust is differing across the 3 platforms. When people come at a platform like CarWale, they believe that they'll get moon and star and let's say sun and whatever money. They think the cars are displayed in the best possible manner. And they are also naive, to be very honest. While you can do so much, if somebody, let's say, spends half an hour or 1 hour with you on a session, he's not really getting educated in that time. So they come and they get a certain perspective. if they end up with something like True Value or Dasvert Alto, they will probably, let's say, be a little better off because there'll be somebody behind, right, supporting,
Exactly.
giving warranties, giving support. But if they end up with a regular used car dealer, it just then boils down to who's the person. Is it Anuj? Is it Banwari? Is it somebody else? And what our intent are, and let's say what our outlook is for future. So I think there is a huge deficit in trust in terms of used cars, and if and it, to me personally, it has played a huge role in the not so great growth of this country from a used car point of view.
Fair enough, fair enough. So now switching gears, let's come to another leading car site of the country, and which got a fresh round, of funding also there. I believe they're sitting on a whole, huge pound of cash as well. And of course, Umesh is here, who had been the CFO all this while, and now is heading the used car business. So Umesh, couple of questions. CarDekho was essentially earlier only pure digital used car, online classifieds. Now you have your Gadi stores powered by CarDekho. What is the shift that you are seeing? Has the traffic on your web gone down, gone up? What is the consumer behavior and the conversions on the offline and online models?
Sure. I think let me just correct. So initially, CarDekho was a new auto player. As Banwari said, that initially the focus was always about the new car. The first 10 years from 2000, first 8 years from 2007 to 2015 were totally about new car.
Yes.
And then we added used car vertical into our company because used car was evolving across the country, and we saw that used car will overall at a macro level will become much larger than the new car. So, coming to the question that you have asked, what we are seeing currently is a lifetime highest traffic on our website, which is upward of 20% as compared to pre-COVID times in January to February times. So we are seeing a rise in the demand for the used cars, which is unprecedented because this pandemic has reinforced the need of having a personal vehicle. So while new car continues to be out of the budget for a lot of the buyers because it's a discretionary spend, but the two-wheelers and the used cars have emerged as a low-cost option because people are looking for the utility option to drive from one place to another place, right? So if you think about it, that the number of kilometers that are being driven in the last 1 month or expected to be driven in the next 3 months have gone down. Or will be expected to go down because we are not socializing, we are not going to mall, we are not traveling out of the city. So the people are focusing on the basic needs, which is having a utility vehicle. The used car demand has gone up the curve. While the supply side has seen a dip, but we are seeing the supply coming back. So what we are saying is that the two-wheeler and the pre-owned cars will grow much faster. One may argue that it was a pent-up demand for the last 2 months where we didn't see any transactions in April or part of the May as well. But we see is that because of the COVID scenario, everybody wants to ensure that they are safe and they don't want to use the cabs or the public transportation. So want to have one vehicle with them. So those customers are the new entrant into the market. And driving up the demand that we are seeing. So even on the vehicles on the two-wheeler side, we are seeing the lifetime highest demand on our platform.
So this demand, as Umesh, you rightly mentioned, could be a pent up. Because people had been, in their homes and they were not venturing out, and possibly it was on the pending list to buy a vehicle. We had a similar program on car subscription. There also, they were saying similar things. In fact, the marketing and sales head of Mercedes-Benz was there in one of our programs. He mentioned that the E-Class and the S-Class customers who used to never come to the showroom for the new car delivery, they were coming to the showroom because they want to just get out of their house, they want a reason. So the customer is evolving and changing. So coming back to the earlier question, which I had asked you, earlier had only a pure play online model, which is good for used cars. Now you have the Gadi stores. How is it different in both the cases?
So essentially, what we are seeing is the transition from a pure play classified model to the transaction model. What we want to become is the OEM of the used car industry, where we control the supply side as well as the demand side. So in order for us to ensure that our dealer partners get the full stack service, so we ensure that they get the entire supply of the cars, a large part of the supply through us. And finally, once they have got the supply of the cars, we help them sell the cars as well. So what it helps us to create an entire ecosystem play within the auto space. And while he's selling the car, we ensure that the retail finance on the consumer is done by us, and the insurance alongside is bundled as part of the deal. So think of it this way, that when you buy a new car, you don't really worry about the finance, you don't worry about the insurance, because at one single place you get everything. The similar experience we are trying to create at CarDekho. When you buy the car from the dealer, if he is our dealer partner, you want to give him the complete peace of mind while he's buying the car. Attach a finance product which is accessible, inexpensive, and which comes with a lot of convenience factor, and the insurance is bundled as part of the product. So that same experience we are trying to create.
Great, fair enough, Umesh. So now, friends, we have to really switch our gears. We have been talking about sales, all this while. Now it's time to go to after sales. And as they say, after sales these days actually comes before sales, because cost of ownership drives and is the deciding factor of the brand or the vehicle. And of course, I'm sure, we have all seen why Maruti Suzuki vehicles are so popular, because of the beautiful after sales, that they offer. So switching gears, coming to one of the hottest startups in this, I would not say unauthorized because they don't like it. I would say aftermarket garage aggregators. And it's GoMechanic, again, a Sequoia funded company, and they do a great job. So Kushal, coming to you, we all know that most of the used cars, if they don't have a warranty, they eventually would come to a garage associated with you. So where do you think this pre-owned vehicle market boom is going to help you, for your business? And also the other way around, how good service, genuine parts can be the enabler for pre-owned vehicles? All yours.
Yeah. Thanks, Anuj. By the way, we don't like ourselves to be called aggregators as well. We are a branded network of car workshops where we own the entire experience of after sales service, and it's all tech first. Similar to what you can say Maruti dealership or a Hyundai dealership does, right? They are not owned by Maruti. They are owned by a partner of Maruti, which is a dealership, right? So it's similar. These are our partners which run the workshops for us, and they are tied to us from the hip. It's not fly by the night operations with them. So the control on operations is pretty much.
So possibly you can be the OEM of the aftermarket garages, if I can say.
Yeah, you may say that. Or we are the after sales service network for all the OEMs. Yeah, after the warranty period is over, right? So you can look at it that way. And we intend to be that rather. Like rightly said by Shashank san of Maruti Suzuki, what is happening these days is people, and because of pre-COVID, because of the COVID thing also, people will hold on to their cars for a longer time, right? And they are going to extend their decisions to sell the car or sometimes even buy the car, right? That means more after sales service is required. People will want to maintain their cars more, right? Predominant problem in India is after the warranty period is over, people go in the after sales, people go in the unorganized market, 70 to 80% of them after the 3 years or 5 years warranty period is over. Couple that with the bad infrastructure in India, the bad road conditions. India probably has the highest number of speed breakers across the world, right? Per capita. There are a lot of problems which come in the car, and like again Shashank san said, the lower end consumption of the cars in India is high. So that leads to a predominant requirement of after sales service, and the cost of ownership increases. So players like us and GoMechanic particularly, we are trying to standardize all the prices in the after sales service market, right? From your clutch change to your 10,000 service, 20,000 service, your denting, painting requirements. Everything is tech enabled and everything is standardized. And the main job after that is to ensure that the fulfillment happens post that through our network. So that's what we do. In the COVID situation, we have seen that the consumer behavior has shifted entirely online. In used car, people want the feel of the car or want to see the car first, but there is nothing of that sort in the service, right? People are more than willing to book the service and try it online. They do not want to go to the workshops anymore because of the social distancing norms. So there are a lot of new concepts coming up. We have seen a huge jump in free pickup and drop services. Earlier, we used to get 60% of our customers opting for pickup and drop. Now it is 95% almost. Other things such as battery change at the doorstep, tire change at the doorstep, doorstep oil change, or sanitization of the cars at the doorstep has picked up quite a bit, right? And we are organically as well as inorganically more than our Feb numbers. We do more than 30,000 cars per month, and that's what we did in June too. It is a pent up demand because the cars were shut for 3 months almost, and a lot of them required a battery change. So huge number of cars when coming back to the roads wanted a service requirement. So that's where they are. And on your second question, how does it help the used car business? So one problem in India is the service history of the car, right? When someone is selling the car after 5 years or 6 years, there is no way someone can actually figure out what's the condition of the engine. Though most of the players do check up the car for an hour from the exterior, but who will take a guarantee of the service? Or has the odometer reading not been tampered, or has there been some kind of change across the spare parts in the car, right? There is no way to check. You can't check the engine by the sound of the engine, which most people do. But players like us who are organizing the data, who are organizing the after sale service, we can actually tell the quality of the used car. Like this car has been serviced at 40, 50, 60K, and that means it is driven 70K, right? It is driven 60K. So no one can come and sell that car at a 40K kilometer, which usually happens across in a lot of times in India. And in fact, it is a trend in India where people reverse the odometer reading and take the free servicing again and again as well.
Even the digital day doesn't help, huh?
yeah, it doesn't. So it happens. I mean, though most of the OEMs are trying to organize themselves with this data, but most of the taxi guys still do it. So we, as GoMechanic, feel that we are well poised to basically be that data which can feed into the used car or a pre-owned car market, where this authority that this car is in a good condition is claimed. In fact, we have seen that sites already. Most of the used car dealers respect and have now started paying a premium if the service history is there with GoMechanic across all our 14-15 cities, and that's a good sign for someone like us. And we see this trend just increasing, because it's better than having no service history, having a proper GST enabled warranted service history. So that's what my 2 cents would be on that.
So Kushal, I can see already possibly a lot of associations and tie-ups right in this meeting. They could happen. Service verified by GoMechanic, huh?
yeah.
Okay, so now let's come to a company जिन्होंने बहुत ज़्यादा पटाखे छोड़ दिए हैं used car market में. In fact, they have possibly immortalized this line. गाड़ी बेचनी हो तो cars 24, something like that, right? Abhinav, if I'm not wrong, that's your punchline.
कार बेचनी हो तो cars.
Car बेचनी हो तो cars 24. So see, I remember a part of it. Huh? So Abhinav, you guys have taken this entire market by storm. You haven't left any stone unturned, right? From the unorganized part, making them organized, technology, film stars, throwing huge discounts, So if you can just share some part of your journey and last 2 months, 3 months, how it has expedited,
I think, yeah. So I think largely Cars 24's overall philosophy has been to basically manage supply, right? I think whoever has supply in the market is the one who will literally have overall control on the ecosystem, right? Right now, any dealer's growth, any organized or unorganized dealer's growth completely depends on the kind of supply that you have. I think the starting point for Cars 24 has been supply, and anything and everything that we've built has been on that premise. First, we had supply, and that's when we entered into, let's say, a B2C environment where we started selling cars, or we started providing loans through our own NBFC vertical, or we've entered into a warranty vertical now. We've entered into franchisee now. We've got into several other similar initiatives, but largely the key starting point, the key tenet where we've succeeded is to control supply. I think key area where we continue to harp and which remains our very basic DNA is to have a very strong supply base. I think coming to how been the last 2-3 months, I would say, of course, ever since the lockdown has opened up, there has been pent-up demand in the market, but we've seen excellent recovery in supply. The seller base has come back. It is, I would say, in fact, December is generally considered the best month for us historically in the last 4 to 5 years. But this time, in June itself, we've seen our December numbers getting crossed. We managed to get more sellers than December in June. Of course, part of it would be pent-up demand. But clearly, I think people have entrusted the brand. People have come out. People have called us to their homes. But number of car sellers has recovered, and it has recovered more than the best month of the last year. Right? So clearly, we at least don't see any slump in supply. And slightly delayed demand from the market for sure, but our dealers, the channel partners who've been buying from us have also resumed back to the original numbers. Coming to buyers, the buyers who buy from Cars24, we've seen a 40 to 45% jump in the buyer leads overall. Our numbers have been ever highest in June in the buyer side. So at least we from our side see amazing recovery on the supply side. We see great recovery on the buyer side. I think the dealer partners who worked with us have also shown great promise for us. I think broadly, things that have really worked for us is, and all sorts of technology adoption that requires the basic tenet right now is trust, right? I think Caravana selling cars online, delivering it to their homes, I think it's just pure transparency, pure trust that they've managed to build. Imagine 2, 3 years, 4 years ago, when we got into the market, dealers refused to buy cars without looking at them. But today, they are buying cars on the app without seeing it, transferring payments online, getting deliveries of their car at their doorsteps. Right? So this is nothing but trust on the seller side, on the buyer side, on the dealer side. Through our inspection app, we managed to capture every damn point, standardize it to the T. We've used AI ML algorithms to judge a scratch in the car, the engine sound, 37 different parameters to come up with a price. Demand, supply, auction-based platforms. They are not gut-based. They are not experience-based. I can't say, is gaadi ka price 2 lakh hai. I want to know why is it 2 lakhs, right? And that's where data-based decision-making, getting prices from the demand, supply, seasonality of the market is becoming very, very important. I think that's where we've really, really scored. I would second Kushal's point on service history, on the background of the car. And I would say to build trust in the market, in fact, I would rather urge to all OEMs through this platform to actually start believing in data democratization, right? We all need to bring our data out. Why hide the service histories with us? Why hide, data about cars with us? It's the government of India has done a great job by giving us Vahan data, right? Why not start providing our service history to everyone? Carfax in US has done a brilliant job there, right? If your brand car is being sold by another dealer, your reputation is also attached to the car. Why not make the car or the history of the car as transparent as possible? So I think together, the OEMs, all stakeholders need to come together, bring enough trust in the system. And I think that's where I guess the recovery or the trust and transparency will improve, and hence tech adoption will start making more sense to us.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Abhinav. And it's very nice to know the way you and your organization are really spearheading these data-driven, technologies, because, one wrong car based on gut in a system, your profit of last 20 cars goes down the drain. So if it's data-driven, it makes all the difference. But one critical question here, Abhinav, is that, the trust factor, the trust which probably Das Welt Auto or Maruti True Value would enjoy of the customer. कि मेरी गाड़ी के पेपर ट्रांसफर हो जाएंगे, my car would not be used in some attack and it would not still be on my name. So that trust which would be on an OEM, how are you able to gain that trust not being an OEM?
I think the trust is coming from a brand name. Otherwise, everything else is all process driven. We are ensuring that whatever cars that we are buying, we are not letting our used car dealers take the documents away from us. We have in our own processes involved their skin in the game that they cannot just take the car away. We are tracking the entire trail of the car of where it is moving, how it is moving, and whether it is in our control or not. We've put various checkpoints. We've tried tech experiments where we are tracking the location of the car even after delivery, right? So having the customer to believe that nothing is going to go wrong with the car is not just, I think, giving statements on we will take care of the car. We need to again provide transparent, conclusive, concrete steps on what all we are doing to ensure that your car is in safe hands. And over and above that, we indemnify the customer 100%. We have a customer protection policy where we insure a customer worth 10 lakh rupees plus our 100% legal support. If anything goes wrong, we are there to take care of it.
Wow. 100% indemnification of the customer for anything which goes wrong later on. Huh? Even criminal liability.
There are cases where there have been hit and run cases, cars have been used in some illegal activity, but we have a very strong legal team to take care of these things. We are tracking the movement of the car. So I think these are steps, these are examples which work in our favor.
That's fantastic. It's very nice to know, Abhinav. So, by the way, gentlemen, we have gone beyond the time that we had thought for the first round. So, मुझे बहुत दुख के साथ आपको कहना पड़ रहा है that I have to reduce the time per speaker now from 3 to 4 minutes to just 1 to 1.5 minutes. So we can start the second round now. So Shashank San, you've heard all the panelists. So quick remarks from your end if you want to share.
Yeah, I think some very great points made by almost everybody. I like to, of course, differ with on some of the points, definitely. For example, the building of trust. Or the ownership of the customer journey, lifetime journey in automobile. Obviously, the OEM tries to do that. So, for example, when we have true value sales, we are also doing not only 400 checks through those methods, those AI methods, and the entire digital tools to make sure that the value of the car which is being offered is correct and transparent. We also have our own service facilities, which ensures the usage of spare parts which are genuine. We also we give our warranty, for example. We ensure, as you just said, transfer of documents. I'm not sure whether tracking car post sale is really legal or not. I'm not so sure. As some panelists mentioned. So this is the reason why the trust of consumers in the OEM base, especially the ones which we are using, the tools which we are using, the processes we are following. You will be surprised, like finance. We offer finance, insurance. We also offer warranty. We are giving free services also post sales. So someone mentioned that people, reverse their odometer reading, etc. But we have a service history. We have a service history from the 70% of the passenger of the car park. I'm talking purely from passenger car vehicles point of view, not the elder, more mature tractor part, but talking only of the passenger cars. We have a whole service history. 70% of the car park is Maruti Suzuki. We know exactly if the vehicle has met with an accident, whether it has, how many parts were changed, what trouble it has gone through, and etc. etc. And talking of democratization of data, I think Abhinav mentioned. It would be great, of course, for if all players in the market had that. But obviously, it's also one of the points which comes in how much data you can share. And one of the things, and whether the consumers would like that as well, and whether it is permitted by to share this data. We do have the data, of course, and that also ensures that most of the people would prefer actually to buy from us. Now, on the selling part, I'm not so sure, because maybe if you have a vehicle which has been accidented or repainted, or you have changed some parts or changed odometer reading, you better not come to True Value, because if you do, you will definitely be caught. Right. So such people might prefer to go elsewhere. But on the buying side, when people are wanting to buy, then definitely I think people understand. And we would like to continue, because replacement buying is a continuous, it's a very important part of the new car buying as well. And finally, Anuj, talking on the point of, I think one of the panelists mentioned about the the aggregation, whether they are aggregators or whether they are OEM. Actually, it is all about the ownership of the consumer. And ownership of the consumer is what OEM would definitely like to have. And people elsewhere and outside would like to get part of that ownership. And that is something which OEMs will resist. And I think that's how the business is organized. So that is how it would be, I suppose, going forward.
True.
Well.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. But at the end of the day, what we have seen traditionally, whoever aligns themselves to the consumer wholeheartedly, they are the ones who win. We have seen in the case of the London Taxi Union versus Uber, we know what happened. So anyone who's truly customer and consumer centric, takes it away.
Absolutely, Anuj. I think Abhinav also mentioned that there has been a lot of selling also currently, which is actually not for us. We have a 25% jump in the demand for used car post pandemic, but on the replacement buying there has been a negative, and that seems to be actually logical as well. So looks a little counterintuitive. Maybe we need to study this a little more time to come to a conclusion on the selling part.
Sure. So I guess Samir has a presentation to show. So Samir, should we put this on now? Yeah. So you have to please introduce yourself and would request you to just wrap it up in 1 or 2 minutes because we'll take too much of time. And of course, we need to give 15 minutes for question and answer to our dear attendees for sure.
I'll be very quick. Don't worry.
All right, as always. So I'm starting to share now. Okay, so here it goes. Is it visible?
Yeah, go ahead.
We need to play it. Yep.
Yeah, we can go to the next one. So what we done is we gone to around close to 80 cities where our top customers are there, and we approached more than 5,000 customers. We got response from more than 1,000 customers out of it. And they're the top customers who are buying for last 5 years regularly, and they know this business very well. So what we found, which is here, that 89% on the personal mobility are likely to use the personal cars and two-wheelers as mode of transportation post-COVID. So that's a very, very big number now. 89% respondents are likely to use. So we can go to the next. I'll be going very quick. This is all recent survey, which has been got from the market in 80 cities. So it's a very, very widely pan-India response. And we found 69% of the respondents wants to purchase a vehicle within 0 to 3 months. So this is what exactly what the Srivastava or Abhinav has spoken just now. So that's where the response is coming. And we can see 69% people want to buy the vehicle at this stage. Next, Anuj. And 96% want to buy a pre-owned vehicle. That was a quick, very, very, very different response. We never expected this kind of a response. And there are a lot of reasons behind it, but we are coming to know, finding it could be affordability, could be the easy availability, and now we know the prosperity to save and prosperity to consume. There are very different ways the things are getting replaced. So now people, how to save is very behavior of our consumers are changing, and that's where the response is 96% of the people want to purchase a pre-owned vehicle post-lockdown. Next. 77% have reduced their budget, and that's another reason why they're looking for pre-owned vehicles now, because they feel they need to save more now, and they want to reduce their budget. They might go from luxury car to a smaller car also in case they're going for a new one, but every 77% of the people have reduced the budget. Yeah, next. And 73% have admitted that they want to purchase a pre-owned vehicle due to COVID. So they said this COVID itself has given us the reason to go for a pre-owned vehicle. Before that, they were looking for not a pre-owned. They would definitely wanted to buy a vehicle, but now they are more willing to buy because of COVID situation. They want to save more. They want to have a different reasons. Affordability is a different, or could be the personal mobility. They want to make it very quick. So there are different reasons for them, but 73% have admitted. Yeah.
Which kind of vehicles are these that they want to go for?
Basically, this doesn't come. Most of the responses were for a vehicle which is from as small as from 2 lakh to within to 5 to 6 lakh rupees. It doesn't go for luxury cars.
Okay.
So most of the respondents were talking about this range only.
So essentially, it's passenger cars that the survey is for.
Passenger cars. It's only purely passenger cars. Purely passenger cars.
Because when it comes to a good majority reducing the budget, whereas on the other side we will have the two-wheeler owners, they would have to increase their budget actually. If they
right. So I'll come to that also. I think there could be somewhere there we're touching that, and we found a lot of people as some of the other panelists have spoken. A lot of people talking about going into digital mode now in the pre-owned also, and we found also the same trend. Even if I've spoken, touch and feel is important, and they'll remain throughout the history of this business. It will remain there. Nobody would be able to change, especially in the commercial vehicle segment. 60%, 67% of respondents now willing to buy digitally, even the pre-owned vehicle, which was never been a trend earlier. So it's a very, very big change in the market sentiment.
Beautiful.
It is a big now point where without financing, earlier pre-owned vehicle was not that too dependent upon financing. Now 65% respondent want finance for a pre-owned vehicle also. So finance is going to play very, very important role in future in any of the pre-owned vehicle industry players. So that's a big change now in the response. Earlier we were finding not more than 30-35% of the people were looking for finance. Now it's changing completely. So we know now personal mobility is going to be the preferred mode, and people will be going for more and more their own, whether it's from two-wheeler, whether from no vehicle to two-wheeler, or from two-wheeler to a smaller car. Those things will change, and pre-owned vehicle demand will go definitely high. Budget is going down for people, so there will be more stress on the prices of resale prices of the pre-owned vehicle. Digital will play phygital, which we say now the new word, which is more mix of physical and digital. That is going to be the norm for future, and financing going to be very important role. So this is what we found, what we've done, and instead of talking about other generic thing, I thought it's better for me to share with all of you what exactly the survey and people and consumers are talking about. So that's all from our side. Thank you.
Extremely pertinent, Samir, I would say. Fantastic. Great. So we stop this share, and now we come back to our discussion. So, Murli sir, when the talk was on how much data should be shared, I saw a grin on your face. You want to say something on that?
I would have called it a smile, not a grin. But let me make 3 points, not necessarily in any order of importance. To continue what was just presented, 78 districts have said pre and post lockdown a 15% increase in personal mobility purchase as opposed to public. It's in districts now. It's not spread across this growth across 600 districts of the country. It's in 78 districts. Second, coming back to my grinning smile, I think a collaborative approach would help all the stakeholders, be it dealers, be it end users, be it the OEMs, be it the component manufacturers, be it the aggregators, the non-aggregators, the new startups. Because finally, when a consumer decides to buy a car, he wants a good car. After that comes the brand, the small size, everything. And if he has a bad experience in a pre-owned car, he's not going to recommend that brand anymore. So the purchase behavior, therefore, the collaborative approach, be it insurance, be it genuine parts, be it quality of service, the quality of repair, the data sharing, the availability of help, the availability of all kinds of services, a collaborative approach would cause an exponential increase in the market for this particular product. Because keep in mind that India still has the lowest penetration of personal vehicles amongst the developing countries. The number of cars per thousand or the number of two-wheelers per thousand is lower than almost any comparable country, any comparable economy, let alone country. So before you say my grinning has now linked to the time exceeding, I think we should see whether we can offer, and that's going to be the takeaway. If all the people in this panel can say, what value add can I give to an end user so that he has a safe vehicle? And then the debate would be a good vehicle versus a bad vehicle rather than a new car versus a used car. And then overall, the market will go up.
Golden words there, Murli sir. I'll just say golden words. We have to have this collaborative approach. Great. So Ashish, while we talk about collaborative approach and also coming from an OEM, what would your thoughts be?
On a collaborative approach? Yeah, I think a lot of collaboration is already ongoing within all the players who are in this room today. We buy leads, our dealers buy leads from CarDekho, CarWale. We are working already with both of them in terms of sourcing used car leads as well. So there's a lot of collaboration going on. And secondly, on the collaborative front, on the user data, I think data is king. Yeah, whoever owns the customer data, will monetize it. So that's a little bit of a debatable topic, whether how much data can be shared by the OEMs. That will always remain a point of contention, because going forward, digital is the king, and data is the king. So whoever owns the data will own the customer. Yeah, so that's a little bit of a contentious topic for me. But in terms of collaboration on the business side, I think collaboration is a must. It has to be done, because even the OEMs cannot survive without data coming in from the channels that most of the players in this room today offer. And we also have a lot of value addition to do in terms of offering conduits for the extreme buying that, for example, Cars24 is doing. Yeah, they have to sell those cars somewhere finally. So OEM channels also have a stake in buying cars from these platforms. And I must congratulate all of them, because they have really revolutionized the used car industry in India. 5 years down the line, or 5 years ago, I think the only channel of trust was maybe True Value, or to some extent Mahindra First Choice. But now Cars24 is a big brand in used cars. So hats off to you guys. Actually, you have brought in a lot of trust for this sector, and that has contributed for this sector to become organized in some sense. The organized player and semi-organized market has gone up from less than 5% to more than 30% now, if you include Cars24, CarDekho, all of them along with it. So, and it will continue to grow. What I also see is that in the last 2 years, the introduction of the GST has also, a national GST law has also actually opened up a lot of industry for the used car industry. Earlier, you used to have pocket. Traditionally, South India, you used to have very good quality cars available, good residual values, and nobody wanted to buy a car which was registered in Delhi. Yeah. So with the introduction of a national GST law, cross trade between boundaries has also been enabled to a large extent, which I think has contributed over the last 3 years in helping the used car industry become more organized, making more diverse cars, more quality cars available to consumers all over the country. Parallelly, the digitalization of the registration platforms, and if we are able to get a national registration going forward, I think that will be a big step in actually giving a fillip to the industry even more. Yeah. So these are 2 or 3 things which I look forward to, and of course the most talked about scrappage policy. I don't know when it is going to come. If it comes in, it will help all of us in new car industry as well, and I'm sure in the used car as well. Of course, no, you can't buy the cars which have to be scrapped and you use them as used cars, but it will bring new consumers into the market who will be looking for cars.
Great, fantastic. Friends, we are actually running out of time, so I would just request, so going forward, Banwari, your comments please, and let's stick to a minute so that we can give more time to our attendees. They might be having some questions. So Banwari, last few thoughts from your end, please.
So I'll talk about digital. There was a question, is it overhyped, or is it, let's say, the revolution going forward? So
Yes.
Anuj, I personally believe, my belief is that you can't do enough of anything which is required to be done, right? I mean, and digital is not really a phenomenon which is competing or sitting beside something. Digital is a platform wherein your consumers are, my consumers are. Since they are there, we all have to be there all the time. And digital does not mean the companies that we represent here, some of us. That's not really digital. Digital is this plus, let's say, having your own digital platform footprint, your own social, let's say, presence, and tons of things. And digital will continue to enhance, the technology landscape will continue to enhance what we see digital today or what we see technology today. 5 years, 10 years down the line would be very different. So we have to be all let's say gunning for it. In fact, when we started COVID, I thought that it will go away in 3 months. Today, I can fairly say it is 6, 9, 12 months away before you actually come out and things become normal. So you can't even wait. You can't say, okay, I'll put up my website when things go normal, because I don't know things when will they go normal. So adopt digital as soon as we can, and don't worry about let's say getting late or getting early. Let's do that is what I would say.
So by the way, Banwari, you have given me the thought of the day. You cannot do enough for what needs to be done.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Kushal, last few remarks from your end.
Yeah. So I will keep it short. So I agree with the panelists that though Indian market is fairly underdeveloped in terms of the car market as compared to developed markets, but Indian consumers who own cars, they are as developed as the US or the developed markets, right? In terms of uses of internet, in terms of awareness. So we can't say that we can have services which are not on par with the developed markets, and we can't be open to data. As an example, any one of us who generates the lead of a used car or a new car is the owner of the customer, right? I mean, anyone can buy it, or an OEM can say we own the ecosystem, but the lead generator is the king, because everyone requires business over here, and we are going after the limited underdeveloped market. So I completely agree with Abhinav and Banwari over here that digital is the way to go, and whoever claiming that no, we will work the old ways, maybe we'll have to wait and watch for the future.
Great. Well said, Kushal. Abhinav, last few remarks from your end before we go into Q&A.
I think I will again insist on the collaboration point a lot. I feel that we all of us on this panel hold a big responsibility towards the used car and the new car industry. India, I feel 1:1.4 or 1.5, whatever the panel agrees. Why are we not 1:1.3s? We all have to answer together. I think a used car has 15 years of life. It can easily change 3 to 4 hands. Why is it not happening? I think why are we not looking at more collaboration? Definitely. And it's a challenge for all of us to also adapt quickly to technology. It's not easy for sure. I think you had one of your questions on unorganized to organized. It's again consistency of experience, how we can leverage technology, how we can move faster on that side. So again, technology, trust, and collaboration, 3 points that I will again insist on.
Abhinav, I promise you, इस topic पे बाद में पक्का चर्चा करेंगे आपको, ठीक है?
मैं available
हूँ.
अभी कर लो.
अभी कर लो. A bit too contentious. Okay, so I think we'll go into Q&A. So we have the first question by Pranav Bhai. I think Pranav Bhai is a dealer principal he has a dealership of Honda, if I'm not wrong, at Gujarat, Ahmedabad. So Pranav Bhai, I'm just getting you in the conversation. You can ask the question yourself. Please go ahead. Pranav Bhai, please ask your question. Just unmute yourself. Yeah.
What is the GST applicability on used car or two-wheeler? Like, is GST applicable on? No. And in case if there is some changes in GST norms, then will this business get affected?
That's a very good question. Anybody wants to take?
I can answer this question.
Yeah, sure.
So the GST on used cars is only on the profitability part. So if you're buying a car for 2 lakhs and you're selling it for 250, the GST is applicable on 50,000 rupees. It is again compounding scheme, etc. continue to happen, but it is not applicable on the entire price of the transaction. It is only applicable on the difference of the price.
On the profit that you make.
Yeah. And also it changes with the CC, like with the length and the CC of the vehicle, it varies from 12% to 18%.
Correct.
Fair enough. Okay. Any other question that we have from any other? Oh, okay. So, all right. So Mr. Chetan has a question. So I'll just get him in the conversation right now. So Mr. Chetan, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I would just like to understand that in today's scenario, like used car supply has stopped. So people are wondering how the supply can be increased from the market. So my question would be that what would be the ways, like only digital ways would be there to increase the supply of the vehicle, or in upcoming days we can work like as earlier we were working?
So, Chetanji, if I understand, I think your question is more on, your difficulty to get cars as supplier, right? So, again, my answer, and I will again pitch my company here. I think you should come on Cars 24 platform. You get lots of cars there. We are getting as many cars that we are getting back in November, December. We'll deliver cars to your home, to your doorstep. So I think that should solve your problem.
Sanitized, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
May I? Sorry. So of course, Chetan can take his car from anywhere. But I must tell you, if he wants a real good quality car, and if he's not getting that, there is that's the point I was trying to make on a more macro perspective. You do find replacement buying has come down from around 25-26% to about 15-16%. So it is true that people will hold on to the vehicle post-COVID for a longer time. That's, of course, not only intuitive and logical, but it's now borne out by data, although data is only for a couple of months. So I think this thing will ultimately result in that price equations changing so that the demand matches supply. And I think that is what I'm foreseeing today. It's, of course, it's also a temporary phenomena, because I think as soon as the COVID sentiment turns positive, it is possible that you can have a V-shaped recovery in consumer sentiment, leading to many people going in for replacement buying, in which case you will have a much better supply in the used car market.
Good. I think, sorry, I missed Umesh in the closing remarks. Umesh, you want to add something? So sorry for that.
No problem. So I'll just add what Abhinav and Banwari said. That, see, digital is the way forward. There's no doubt about that. But one of the most fundamental problem that is to be solved by all the industry players is that the trust. The customer who's buying as we saying that a safe and good car, he should have that full confidence on the player. Now that confidence can only arise by the collaboration on the data side. If you take the example of the insurance and the finance sector, there's a lot of data collaboration happening, and they are way ahead of our time as compared to the auto sector. So we totally respect that the personally identified information of the customer should not be shared. What we are talking about here, data, is about the quality of the car, the service records, etc. If that information is available and shared across different players, I think that will help us to achieve one common objective that we all are gunning for, that the trustworthy place to giving him an option to buy a good car.
Well said, Umesh. Well said. Very, very fine remarks. So I think Mr. Ashish wants to ask the next question. Ashish, you can ask your question. Please unmute yourself if it hasn't been answered already.
Hi, good evening. This is Ashish Pratihari. I just want to understand, there are a couple of questions. First is, what is the growth of the organized used car market anticipated by 2021 in this financial year? And shall I ask the remaining question as well, Anuj?
Yeah, so you want to ask the growth?
Yeah, I just want to understand the growth which is anticipated from the organized sector channel basically in this financial year. And there are a couple of other questions. For example, I just also want to understand what are the various sources or dealership can maximize the earnings or income from the used car business. So these are the two questions which I have at the moment.
Okay. Anybody wants to take that on the earnings and the volumes forecast?
Sorry, I didn't get the second question. Can you repeat? Yeah.
Yeah, my second question is, what are the various sources of income a dealership can earn from the used car business, apart from the margin what he used to get by selling and refurbishment and buying of the car. So what are the other sources of income? For example, I think few of the panelists said by selling accessories, insurance, other allied business. So what else is there? We just want to understand that.
So I think take up the question here. Again, I think on one side, the growth should be somewhere around 15 to 18% for the used car industry. I think that's the growth that we've seen, and I'm sure with the current scenario, with how the market has recovered, I'm sure the growth should consistently run around that number. I hope to get it gets better, but I'm sure at least that should be a minimum level of growth that we should see. On the other side, where how you can make more money as a dealer, I think there are several other important areas that you can look at. One is, we were discussing about warranty. I think customers are looking for warranty as a package with a used car. Customers are looking for insurance or insurance renewals. Service packages are again very, very important. OEMs want cars to come back to the service networks. The aftermarket OEMs like GoMechanic also want service packages to be probably sold with the cars, which are again very important areas. Apart from that, I think car detailing, car sanitization are again areas where you can look at more money to be earned. And I think anything and everything that happens, as I think Kushal was also saying, once you have the lead of the customer, you can cross-sell a lot. If you have the lead of the customer, you can note down kilometers and see when the tires are going to get worn out. Maybe you can call customers and start replacing tires. So I think these are areas, but instantly along with the deal, I guess car service packages, warranty, insurance, servicing, and probably a couple of other services like car detailing and sanitization make a lot of sense according to me. That's what we've been suggesting our channel partners. A lot of them have picked up as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, Anuj,
I'll just add.
Anuj, if I may add. So putting all this data, what Abhinav just said in terms of percentages of margin, typically what we see the used car margins on the car itself range from 4 to 4.5% for good quality cars. And the value-added services like insurance, finance, accessories, service packages to be sold along with the used car have a potential to add another 5 to 6%. So typically you can make around 10 to 12% margin if you are able to give a good offering and package it well along with your used car sale.
Yes, Umesh, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add the same thing what he said, that attaching the retail finance to the car the dealer is selling, he can make easily around 2% of the car value to that. I think that one point was missing in what Abhinav said. I think that's incremental add-on to the profit that he's making from the car. Yeah.
Allow me to mention 2 points which come to my mind. If they can be the future, cash cows for the pre-owned vehicles. One can be possibly a pre-owned car subscription, and the other can be an assured buyback. You have to pay a little price at which you get assured buyback. So these 2 things, has somebody tried these 2 things in the past, or is it on the anvil? Though I'm sure you might not share, might be confidential, but it just came to my mind. Okay, yeah.
I think great points. We are looking at those.
Thank you. So Mr. Venugopal wants to ask the next question. So let's get him in.
I think Anuj, you have a topic now for the next forum, where you call the used car players and the subscription players together. Huh?
Yes, and we have a nice jamming session. Okay, Mr. Venugopal, please ask your question.
It's 6:30.
By the way, we are out of time. Last question, please. Yeah, Mr. Venugopal, you have to unmute yourself. If you're not there, we'll assume you're not there if you don't answer the next 15 seconds. Okay, by the way, his question is right here. I'll just speak it out. So Mr. Venugopal wants to ask, do you see the CV used vehicle getting into an organized sector? And if yes, what can be the challenges?
Yes, we saw a lot of movement over there. As we see, the majority of every manufacturer comes over a period of time in every segment. And it started definitely the cars and tractors already been there. Now, finally, we are seeing the movement in commercial vehicle, and we are finding it. A lot of trade-ins have started. We're working a lot of deals in a very different way, and it's going to be as big and as mature markets like others. And those solutions are going to come, and things are maturing enough. Things are changing enough, very, very fast.
Beautiful, fantastic, friends. We are spot on time. So it's 6:31 as per the clock. And thank you so very much, gentlemen, for taking out your precious time on a Saturday evening, which actually belongs to your family, for the industry, for the people, to give them clarity, to give them direction. And I'm sure all these beautiful words would surely be actioned by a lot of people around the world. And thank you so very much. I would also like to thank our dear team, Jerry sir and Mohini, for painstakingly organizing this beautiful session. Thanks a ton. Thank you so much, Team WAF.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It was wonderful having you all.
Thank you, Anuj. Thank you, Anuj.
Thank
for
you.
bringing everybody together.
And also, we thank our attendees who were patient, who were there through the entire duration of the program. I haven't seen consistently everybody being there and also asking such intelligent, pertinent, relevant questions. Thank you so much, friends. Stay safe, follow all the guidelines, and we shall all emerge together. Thank you so very much. Have a great evening. Have a nice
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you and bye.
Bye.